Building boundaries is the only way that you can be healthy. Enforcing boundaries is the hardest thing you'll ever do. Here's the thing, my kids are not impressed with anything I've done on TV. Like, my kids will run up to me and be like, Dad, we need Roman Reigns dolls, stat. And I'll be like,
hello, do you see me? Do you know me?
Hey, Funkasaurus ring a bell? They're like, yeah, Dad. Yeah, you did good. You did good. That's cool. But I don't want your toy. I see you all the time. I appreciate it. I'm on stand-up shows, sold out. Everyone's laughing. Kids, hey, what'd you think of the show? Huh?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you did good. They just, because they only, we have a rule. When I'm home with my kids, it's called, I put my dad hat on. So that means Tyrus is not available. So that's our deal. So when I'm Tyrusing, they're just like,
when I'm Tyrusing, it's a verb.
Yeah, to them it's a verb.
Yeah.
But when I'm with them, it's supposed to be all about them. So
I love that though. Yeah. I love that. It's funny because there are times as my kids have gotten older, and yours are 12, 10.
13, 12, 12, and 10. Yes, I have, and they'll all be 13 this year. So
you're gonna have 3 13-year-olds at once.
Yes.
Okay, can you explain that?
Well, the old saying was always, if you're going to do it all at once. The only problem was I didn't realize that they didn't mean not to outsource with 4 different uteruses. Just you know what I'm saying? Like I missed the part about the one woman thing. But I outsourced. So
you said outsourced.
we get stopped a lot, because we travel together and TSA and stuff. And I really have a problem with TSA agents because they really ask a lot of questions that can be annoying, like, how old are you? And what's your name? And my guy, hi, I'm Celsi, I'm 12. Hi, I'm Nala, I'm 12. Hi, I'm Rhea, I'm 12. And then they look at me and all my kids have different ethnicities on top of that.
Okay.
So I was always curious of what I would look like in other races, and it turns out I'm cute no matter what. So, because my daughter,
the eyes.
My daughter Reese.
Who has your eyes?
My daughter Georgie got them.
Okay.
She's the 10-year-old got my eyes.
Blue eyes, which by the way, I hate you for those. Like
they're wasted on me. So these eyelashes and these lips, like people have octopus hearts injected and all. You're welcome to them. Like it's completely wasted on me. Like I get it. They curve and they look like butterflies want to land on them.
I always say if I had blue or green eyes, like my mom's white, she has ice green eyes. I'm like, Mom, really, I would be crushing life if I had green eyes.
Well, see, here's what's weird is my mom's white also, but she had blonde hair and dark brown eyes. And my dad, these are his eyes. And he's
black man, blue eyes?
And dark. Like
awesome.
Dark.
Wow.
My grandfather was like the color, his skin tone is like the color of these cameras.
Like
with
your
those
shirt?
eyes. Yeah, this shirt. Yeah, I guess I could have done that. And with these eyes. So they're a recessive gene. My brother didn't get them. I got them. And then my daughter Nala, whose mother is light skinned like me, but she had a different shade of blue eyes, but she got my eyes. And then my son is Tongan, he got brown eyes, and then my other daughter is Hispanic, and she got brown eyes. So I've got my little black Hispanic, I got my little regular blackity black, and then I got my Tongan black, and then I got my super white quarter black. So I got the whole set. I don't and then if an alien shows up and I get divorced, then there we go.
I cannot. Okay, I have a lot of questions there.
Sure.
By the way, I used to. So I'm half black, half white. Their dad. No longer married, but their dad's all white.
Right.
So I'm like, you do the math. I'm like, did you ever go to Boston Market? Like the chicken there is quarter dark.
Yes.
Like my kids are like quarter dark chicken from Boston Market.
The book Roots has that great poem called The Quadroon. What is a quadroon? And it just basically breaks down how America looked at African Americans. Like you're either black or you're white. Like there is no half white.
That one drop.
There is no half white.
Yeah.
There's no. So even if in a quadroon is like 1 1/3. So like these are the old terms like mulatto or mixed. You're 50-50, right? And then the 50-50 has a baby with a white person. Then you have a 25-75, and then that child has a child with another white person. So then you're getting down to like their 1/10 of 1%, which is a quadroon.
Yes.
And guess what? Your black ass is still in the field. Even though you're the color of this chair, you go, let's go.
Mom or dad or grandmama.
Yeah. So, and the poem ends with like, what kind of a white person comes from that genetics? So, which is a whole weird thing because Europe's not like that.
No, it's not. See, there.
Yeah.
Talk to me about using 4 uteruses at once.
Okay, I didn't. The 10-year-old uterus was much later. was married. That was different. The 10-year-old is different. But so here's what happened. I was married.
What?
I was
what
married.
happened?
Okay. Well, no. I can tell. Listen, if you ever see my stand-up show, I did talk about this.
I love it.
But I was married, and we were trying to have kids, and we couldn't. And so I was eventually forced at gunpoint to go to a fertility clinic. And it was not a fun experience for me. And I could not perform under that kind of pressure, long story short. So I did not participate. And she did, and they said that she was fine. So obviously it was me because her uterus was fine. Her eggs were there. And so obviously it must be something wrong with me. So I took the doctor at his word. And the marriage ended up breaking down. One wanted kids, one couldn't have kids. And then there's that whole macho man thing, like you can't have kids.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's a big deal, and I didn't really handle it right, and so when we got divorced and stuff, I'm single, I'm divorced, so I'm like, I can do whatever the hell I want. I can't have babies. I'm playing with house money. I got a free trip to Paris, so in the first 3 people I dated, I got pregnant.
But all at the same time?
No, they're spread out. There's
by
months.
What, like 3 weeks?
No, months. There's
3
months.
months?
Okay, I have
Wait, the
August
first people you dated,
December 7th, and June. So they're all spread out. They're
months.
So
spread out. Right?
Listen,
I love you.
I'm not talking about my body count and like that. I'm not a whore, okay? Understand, I was still a big guy, and and the Funkasaurus was very popular. I had the number 1 toy in America, so there was a lot of things going on, and I thought I was Barrett. I couldn't have, but I am. And I ended up getting,
So when you found out about the first one, you were like...
Kind of found out about him the first one I found out, I was like, I can't have kids.
This is not mine.
You're a cheater.
Yeah.
Call Maury. Ha, click. And then the phone rang again. Hey, call Maury, click. And then I'm like, hey, man, all these people are pranking me? Like, and then...
Call Maury.
And then I was like, well, let's do a swab then. Boom. Congratulations. Boom. Congratulations. So the moral of this story is... fuck fertility clinics. Like that's what it is. But
so were you broken up with each one? Like, because that's like I'm going deep. I'm sorry.
No. Listen. I was a womanizer, party guy.
Yeah.
Didn't want to deal with any of my issues. Had freedom. Had a failed marriage. Had a couple failed careers. I talk about it in my book. The only thing I don't talk about in my books is my children. Because that's a story that when it's their time to tell, they're going to have questions and angers and like, what the hell? Like we joke about it, but why the hell, Dad, did this happen? You wouldn't let me behave like this. And I'll be like, well, I didn't have parenting, which is not an excuse. I made my own choices, but I didn't have wisdom to fall back on, and I was impulsive. So the lessons, my mistakes ended up being a beautiful thing, because even though at that time in my life, everything short of like trying to pay people off to go away, every bad possible thing to avoid responsibility, I was trying to do. Like, and make excuses and, blaming the woman. She knew this, that, all the bullshit that men do when we're not being a man, we're being a little boy. And the one thing that the reality of having children in that way is that you need to figure it out real quick. And you need to make a decision to where you're going to man up and take on this responsibility, or I'll be like my father before me and just run away and not take care of everything, blame the white man for all my problems and all. And I was all up in that shit for a while. And I realized it was a dead end. And then next thing you know, now all my children's bellies are always full. They all have roofs over their head. They all can any activity they want to do. So I work hard at being, it's hard. It's toughest job ever.
Right.
And when you don't have that, the one thing we do need, I will say, is like, we need the grandfathers and the grandmas back. Like, they're afraid of our children right now in this country, and we really need them back, because not having that wisdom, like relying on that, it does hamper you, because I'm still learning all the time, and I try to instill that stuff in my kids. And I'm probably, I'd say my average, I'm probably 60% on the right call, but a lot of times I'm like, oh, my bad. Oh, I gotta figure it out. But if you own it, you can fix it. So I always tell my kids, if you can own the guy in the mirror, you can fix it. But it's
one thing I want to point out, because I haven't known you that long, but I've only done Gutfeld twice.
Thanks for the ratings.
What?
Thanks for the ratings.
Whatever. No, you guys, and I told Kat earlier, Kat Timpa, like, I was so nervous coming in, and then you guys are so welcoming, and then you kind of forget, and it's different because there's a studio audience, which most shows don't have, right? But in general, you guys are so welcoming. That, as you know, in this stupid industry,
I've
is
been on the
not
wrong
normal.
side of that pretty much, and I refuse to ever be like that.
I know, but I felt that about you right away.
Yeah.
But the most important thing I want to say is that, like, I feel like that's kind of how we bonded, is sharing kid pictures.
Oh yeah,
and
I
like
was showing you my family. You showed me your family.
your kids are everything to you. So as we can laugh a little bit and joke about how it all came to be.
Right, everyone's origin story is not good. That's why it's an origin story.
And look at where they are now. And the way this guy lights up, and you know, we both have daughters who ride horses. And I always say to men, like, listen, when your daughter says you want to ride a pony, say, nope, you're allergic, you'll die. Don't do it. Just say no.
I should have.
Literally. My daughter's 22, Tyrus. Guess who's still in horses? Guess who's still paying for it? So moms and dads, it sounds all cute.
But I heard the rumor was if they're in horses, they don't date a lot.
At first.
Okay, so that's a lie too? Okay, let me tell you how bad this horse thing's gotten, okay? I didn't know. I had no clue.
You didn't call me. I would have told you.
I had no clue what was going on with how much it was to be an equestrian, okay? She was doing horseback riding lessons. They were a couple $100 a week, no big deal. Then, lo and behold, she had an affinity for it, and they think she should jump and do competitions. So we had to get uniforms and stuff.
Uniforms,
The uniforms and the brown pants, and they dress like
Riches,
little gentlewomen in the hat and the thing, and each one is like $300, and you got to have ones for a bunch for 5 days a week. You got to train. You know, you dress for success. Now here's the thing.
No, in the training too, like they show up like they're going to a show.
Yes,
and it's
even the ones that don't ride anymore.
Correct, Gucci belt.
Yeah. Oh,
ridiculous.
So.
But that's just the human. The horse is its own athlete.
But this is where, and this is where my daughter plays my strength against me, because I have one rule in my house. If you're the first one in and you're the last one to leave and you do the work, the answer is always yes. I will invest. With the idea, now my parental thinking is that horses, you got to come in, clean their stall, you got to shovel them up, you got to feed them, you got to tack them. No one else should be able to do that for you.
Exactly.
Then you do your fun riding. Then you come back and you give the horse a bath and you check their stall again and make sure they have their food.
So much work.
So much work. So the problem is that her riding class starts at 10. At 8 o'clock, she's dressed and ready to go so she can have 2 hours to get Roosevelt, a.k.a. Teddy, ready. And then at the end, then she'll stay and be like, I got to give him a bath. And today he worked hard, so I'm going to soap him up, so that he'll get the soap bath and all that stuff. And she's consistently done it every time. So when she was like, I want to ride, I was like, okay, can't be that bad. And that's when all hell broke loose. I met the saddle dealer. You understand? I'm looking dead in the camera. There was an individual who drives around with a car, paid off car, drives around with saddles in the back to sell, like Avon, or like it's a whole thing.
And the saddles are $4,000, $5,000, $6,000.
Oh, you've been out the game a while.
Minimum.
No.
For a used.
So no. And my daughter's there with me, and they saw me coming, and it was like, oh, we have this one, and I'm like, oh, okay, and like, well, this is patented leather, which is a little rough, and then there's soft leather, and my daughter's like, Dad, we got to have soft leather. It could be rough on Teddy's back, and I'm like, yeah, you got to have, we got to have the soft.
Oh, she played you there because there's a pad in between the saddle and
the horse. And then
there's
like this, and then they have like you getting your nails done, like paint colors and stuff, and there's a strip that goes, the personal strip
around the edge.
And the edges and stuff, and then like we have and this and that. My daughter goes, you know what, Dad? I think I want it like your Jeep, the gunmetal black with a little bit of.
She used your Jeep,
and I was like, and I was like, yeah, that would be. That's
cool.
That's my girl. Yeah, good call, baby. And then she did that, and the lady was like, and then the stirrups and this, that, whatever. And she's like, and guess what? We know who you are, so we're gonna give you a little discount because we love watching you. I was like, oh, I really appreciate that. So I'm thinking like maybe $5,000 or whatever. She's like, oh no, it'll be $9,847 today with the discount.
With the discount.
And I mean, the only thing she didn't say was cash or card. And I was just like, I didn't have that much on me. I gotta go. Is there a routing number? Oh, right here. Boom. Here's your routing number, sir. And then I was like, okay. And
yes, and that's for one saddle. That doesn't even take into account.
Then you gotta lease the horse.
Lease the horse and then buy the horse.
Dads, lease for as long as you can. And moms, lease for as long as you can.
No. Let's just backtrack and say, You're allergic
to horses.
You'll die. Just say no. Let's get a puppy.
But then she won.
See, you are so soft.
And then we went to Vermont. I came off my tour, and she was at the big tournament in Vermont.
Wait, just a couple weeks ago?
Just this weekend.
My daughter was working there.
Well, who knew? Maybe my daughter finished her first tournament jumping
it's
ever.
It's not a tournament.
Or her competition jumping or whatever. I'm a man.
The terminology.
It's a tournament. We don't show nothing. I don't do pageants. My daughter competes. And she finished second she placed in every event she did, and she was furious. Absolutely furious because.
And you were there.
I was there. Yeah, I was there.
Oh
but
my gosh.
Dad had on, and I hide off in the corner. And
because you blend in so well.
And if somebody walks over to me, and I'll be like, "I'm not him. Thanks for watching." Dad had. And in Vermont, you would think I'm in enemy territory. No.
Who is that?
No. There's Tyrus. Watch you all the time. Love you.
Yeah.
Thanks. You want to come on the show? No. So, but yeah, that used to be like that with all the brothers in Hollywood too. They'd come up to me like, "Yo, man, keep doing what you're doing."
Yeah.
Like, oh, I appreciate it. Do you want to come on the show? Fuck no. And then it'd be out. So, I mean,
yes, exactly.
Now
they're all in the closet.
Now everyone's showing up.
Now it's changing.
And I'm getting a little mad. Like, where you, Hogan showed up? Well, where you been for 8 years, bro?
Thank you.
They're like, what? Why are we so accepting? Like, oh, thanks. You know what? You want to be part of it? Go hand out papers.
Mm-hmm.
Go hand out voter registration to everybody. Show how committed are you? No, because the narrative changed for like 3 days. And all of a sudden, everybody wanted to come.
After the assassination attempt.
After the assassination attempt, yes. As a bodyguard, that was one of the worst.
Yes.
That picture, that iconic picture that will probably be a statue someday.
Which absolutely should be.
Is one of the...
With the fist up and the blood down his face?
Is the absolute worst bodyguard photo in the history of time.
Tell me why.
It's the worst photo. Number one, he's like this. He should never been able to get to his feet.
Yeah.
He should have never been able to say, "Hey guys, I want to put my shoes on."
Yeah, let me get my shoes.
Sir, we'll get your shoes as I'm throwing him in the car. The problem was he was too big and strong for the people protecting him. And this hug right here, all his major arteries and organs were still available. Yeah. So it looked like Greg Gutfeld protecting me with his, like, hugging my leg.
Coming up to your hip.
Like, it's like, the thigh is safe, but, that should never happen. And whether it's not about them being women, not about saying they're not brave, because to do that in itself is bravery. That was a brave woman. But genetically, she did not have the tools. And if it was a small man, it'd be the same thing. Now people be like, "Oh, you have to be big to be a bodyguard." Yes, to protect the target, you have to be bigger than your target and stronger. Now, that doesn't mean the other people, there's our roles, because when I bodyguarded and in my executive protection, we had guys who looked like me around our celebrity. And then I had 2 guys that you would never know. They were non-consuming. They were about 5 feet, 6 inches tall, and they were packing. And you didn't, and the only time you saw them was if you really messed up.
Yeah.
And they were our smaller guys, and they were perfect for it because they were unassuming, just hanging out the bar, sipping on a glass of water.
Love that.
And then you couldn't see the threat. So President Trump should have never got off. As soon as he went down off the stage, push through, shove him in, and the other guards don't need. All you need is the driver in and one on the other side. Go, turn, and face the thing.
Minutes for them to get him into the car.
Also, the other thing is when you don't know. And people always talk about, if I was there, I would have done that. There is 2 reactions you're going to have in a situation like that. You're either going to fight or you're going to flight. And 2 of those bodyguards wanted to flight. They wanted to run. And they couldn't they completely, because you don't, and that's not a judgment on them. That's just a reality of when faced with that, the sound of a bullet and people screaming, you will find out real quick what that person's
But that's not a freaking training ground.
No, it's not. And here's the deal. Whenever something has so many questions and so many, what about this and what about this, it always feels to me like an inside job. Yep. So instead of making those accusations, I keep saying, everybody just shut up and keep watching, because it's not going to come from the government. It's going to come from the American citizens that were there who keep finding the videos. And I think as we're talking, there's body cam video coming out, and there's other people with other sides, and there's still victims that were shot that no one's even talked to yet. Yeah. So, and which is, and then of course, the man who gave his life and his family. Why are we not talking about them? Why are we not seeing, so it just, if we just sit back and let it play out, I think we already know what the answer is. Anybody, but sometimes the best thing to do instead of making, because everyone wants to make accusations and project, the evidence is playing itself out.
Yes, it is. I think the problem is that this is imminent. President Trump is continuing to expose himself right away, right, at the rallies, and that's who he is, and he's running for president. He's not going to go hide. And I love that about him, actually. That's why it feels like there isn't time to just wait, right, and to let it play out. I mean, then we did see 2 days later, right, at the RNC.
Scarface is a great movie, not to cut you off, okay? But they had one hit. They had one opportunity to shut the guy up, the bomb on the thing, and they missed. Mm-hmm. The worst thing in the world is a miss hit because you can't go back. Mm-hmm. And then here's the other thing. Then you'll see the split. Those who were wanting to get their hands dirty and those who didn't. And they will split immediately.
Yep. This summer, it's time to take a break from shopping for meat in the store. That's so 2021. I mean, please. Prices are up, quality is not, and there are more imports than ever. So it's time to be smart, just like me, obviously, and get your meat from Good Ranchers. Who's Good Ranchers? Well, let me tell you, GoodRanchers.com is the #1 place to get 100% American meat this summer. So celebrate the sweet taste of freedom with savory meats conveniently delivered right to your door. And they're all raised and made right here in the good old USA. No matter what the occasion this summer, Good Ranchers has you covered. In fact, right now, you can actually save on Good Ranchers meat like never before. Subscribe to any Good Ranchers box now and get $100 off, plus free American Wagyu burgers for a year. So it's more than just a great deal. It's also, get this, it's a chance to support American family farms and enjoy the highest quality American meat. All you have to do to claim the offer is go to goodranchers.com and subscribe to any of their custom curated boxes filled with 100% American beef, chicken, pork, or wild-caught seafood. Pick your box. Use my code SAGE at goodranchers.com to claim your $100 off and free Wagyu burgers for a year. This is the time to subscribe and leave that low-quality imported meat of the grocery store. Leave it behind. If you needed any other reason to support Good Ranchers, they're not only amazing partners of this show, but they support the paralyzed veterans of America, too. Every single order saves American farms and supports American veterans. So change the way you buy meat today at goodranchers.com with my code SAGE to claim your $100 off, plus those free American Wagyu burgers for an entire year. Make the summer unforgettable with goodranchers.com, American meat delivered.
The American people were being misled by Biden's camp because he was unfit to serve. Mm-hmm. And they didn't realize what they had with that. Mm-hmm. Because if Biden comes out and says, leading this country has been my greatest joy. I just had a doctor's appointment. It looks like that I have dementia or whatever his deal is, and I won't be able to finish my term as president. It would have been a momentous, glorious, what a sacrifice, what an honest thing. And then whomever he decided to christen as next would have had tremendous momentum.
And empathy.
And the country, but then here's the problem. Then the progressives couldn't get their agenda done. And because this wasn't, they always talk about this is Joe Biden's record. No. This is as much his record as it is Milli Vanilli's. Okay? Let's just keep it real.
Exactly.
Let's stop. All right, you guys ran a certain thing.
God, same generation.
You get it. No, anyone else on TV like, huh? No, it's not about you. But the ugliness of all of this is that it's not about Democrats and Republicans. It's about integrity. And you, for lack of a better term, pissed down the American people's back and told us it was rain.
Yeah.
And it was dirty.
I think I'm just so surprised that there's been so many people who haven't questioned, who weren't suspicious beforehand. And I've been saying, I think I said it on Gutfeld one of the times I was on about, and the polls and Trump's ahead, great. From day one, I've been saying, why do we trust that this election is actually going to be legitimate? Because I don't believe that 2020 was, number one. And number two, especially once all the charges started to come, I'm like, guys, they are showing that they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure he doesn't get in. And then it was ramping up. And then there was the debacle of a debate. And after that, they had no choice but to acknowledge the cognitive issues of this poor man, and I do look at it from a human level, like this poor man. It was
elderly abuse,
it was 100% for years leading up to 2020. Like this has been going on for such a long time. And then once that happened and they were like, shit, what are we going to do, the Democrats? Fine, call me a conspiracy theorist because I don't believe.
It's not a conspiracy if you're asking. You should be able to ask questions. And I think we all should be questioning. If this was a movie, we wouldn't sit and watch the finish because we already know how it ends. We already know that Darth Vader is his father. Like, first of all, everything they tried, I say the election was messed up in a way, rigged by the media in terms of they picked and choose what truths to tell to influence the American people. His entire first presidency was a coup. Ridiculous attempts to amazing that they were so keen on the 25th Amendment when literally, hello. But they went after him constantly. He was a spy for Russia. That never happened. Him and his son was doing illegal business dealings. That never happened. He was all these things. He was Hitler. He's graduated to become Hitler. But his entire presidency was full of nothing but roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. So even, let's just say it was all square. Me, as an adult, as a man, there is no way that I would think it was. Based off of everything, if every turn I turned around, somebody was trying to plant something on me, spy on me, accuse me, false accusations, false impeachments, and then I lose, there's no way I'm going to feel like, oh, well.
Of course not.
You're not there. And the fact that they pretend like that they don't see that, he has every right to feel that way. People who went through farce, Stacey Abrams, Hillary Clinton, who just lost. Yeah. There wasn't this campaign of terror against them. There wasn't people sitting on TV every night accusing them of being Hitler with no basis or facts or anything behind it, just saying it. And so he had every right to feel that way. And then now
but there was also videos. I mean, there was so much proof.
Stop he peed on the beds and rushed. It was just stupid stuff, dossier crap made up by them.
No, I mean like the videos of like with the ballots and tens of thousands of them found in a ditch.
Right.
I mean, stuff that was blatant cheating.
Mail-in voting, I've always been against.
Hated it.
My ancestors, my family, they stood in line. They had their ID. They went in that box, and there was something about standing in that box. In that moment, of like everyone taught, all this stuff about oppressed, this, whatever. This is the moment that you thank your ancestors for having the will and the want to be more. And that's a great way to say thank you.
Yes.
Is that vote. So for me,
it should be like a national holiday to me.
It should be a holiday.
We have other things that are holidays. I haven't even heard of.
We take days off for Easter bunnies. We should be able to take the day off to honor the right to vote.
And I will tell you, with my kids, they're 22, 20, and 18. So this is the first time that all three will be eligible to vote. And I'm so excited. And they're in college in different states. Right. So I'm helping with that absentee process now. So between that, military, otherwise, get your butt there. Right. And, oh, by the way, when I interviewed Joe Biden in 2021, right after he took office, and one of the topics was the racist voter laws in the state of Georgia because they were about to move the Major League Baseball game out of Atlanta. Which was
the dumbest, to honor Hank Aaron and not be in Atlanta. How stupid was that?
So stupid, right? But at the end of the day, I remember not being really allowed to follow up. We didn't have time, and it was a very scripted interview.
Because I wanted to ask you about that because
we can. But wait. So I'm laughing, and I was like, I said, would you be okay? And again, very scripted questions. Right, yeah. Don't veer off of what we've written. A whole other. Would you be okay? What are your thoughts on the Major League Baseball game potentially moving out of Atlanta? And he started to go in on the racist voter laws. And I was going crazy because I'm like, wait, so you're telling me that because of the color of our skin, we aren't smart enough, I guess, to know that we need an ID or that we even have an ID in our possession and to bring it with us. And then, of course, we're going to die of dehydration because they're not going to give us water.
You know what happens if we don't get water.
I mean, you know what happens. So that's the kind of thing that makes me angry because those are racist thoughts, racist
it's polite
comments.
Racism. It's a polite racism.
Let me help you and stick up for you.
Well, we have to, but I have to be in charge.
Yeah.
Because you guys, you can't do it yourself. I mean, you're like children.
But hello, the majority of Black America down in the South in particular and across the country, it's like, yep, it's racist voter laws. Why do we accept that?
Because it's a beautiful credit card for us.
It's so well said.
We can charge it anytime we want to. Oh, I got fired from my job. Oh, white dude did it. oh, there's always like I'm no matter what I do, I'm oppressed. It's a great way to pass the buck. And the problem is that white America is too accepting.
Well, because they don't want to be called racist.
But at this point, I just be that racist dude because the word has no meaning anymore. Like actual real racist people should be outraged. Like all their time and energy of living alone in a trailer with no real prospects and hating everything, blaming everything that looks different than them is the reason why their life sucks. And you take that away from them and just give it to everybody. I mean, even when I was called a white nationalist, it was one of the funniest moments of my
Brilliant.
life. Yeah, I was like, hey, I'm about time they became all inclusive. You know, I think it's a good look for them.
Yeah.
So, and when I got there, it was crazy because Larry Elders was the guest speaker. So it was, the white
That's
national
amazing.
thing was, yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe you can get there next year. But that polite racism has always been their thing. It's virtue signaling. It's the reason why a donor will drop all this money to get computers for the child. But they only do it if they can take a picture with the computer with the child. Always be aware. Always be wary of these people who give back to the community, but they're always in the pictures.
Always in the picture. Yeah.
Or they're overdressed for the occasion. If they're in a suit, not and all their stuff, but they're there to feed the children. Well, you know what? You could have bought a bunch of sandwiches with that suit money, bro. So you always just have to look at it is for what it is. But
did it ever bother you to be called all of those names that you and I both have been called?
Yeah.
Like,
when I was younger,
Yeah.
it would be a real quick trip to an ass whooping. Or
and
I'd be
I'm
quick to
talking
fight.
about political things,
Political
right?
stuff. When I started getting attacked politically, I kept laughing because I'm like, you've never heard me talk. You just saw me on Fox and assumed that I was a certain way, and you don't know anything about me because I'm a ball and strikes guy, and I'm not. I don't follow allegiance to anyone. And I think if you do, that says a lot about you.
Yeah, yeah.
But they don't care. It's the tent thing. Like, oh, you're on that side, and it makes me laugh because in the real world, like my close friends, I don't think a lot of them are Republicans, but we don't talk about it.
Doesn't matter.
No, we
Good
send each other the dumb videos on Instagram like everyone else. And I'm like, oh, who you voting for?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or if one of the someone I consider a close friend and a buddy, Kevin Nash is a super Democrat, and he posted he was excited to support Kamala. I didn't text him like, we're done, bro. And I still send him the same goofy tweet the next day, just like he does me. Like, because that stuff really doesn't matter. If the most important thing to you is somebody else is getting a job, what is going on in your world? Like to where even if you're, again, knowing what's going on in your community, being a good civilian and understanding how government works, yes. But solely just following to follow because it sounds good and gets you attention, that's when you have to really look at what's going on with you.
I agree 1,000%. And I do think it has to do with age and wisdom and experience. And once you've been through enough things in your life, related or not related to politics, you go, okay, I have perspective here. My mother used to say to me, she'd check out my Instagram and she'd be like, just go in and delete those messages, Sage. It hurt her to see it. And I'm like, Mom, I refuse to delete these because it makes it then look like it doesn't happen.
Right.
And people need to know this is what's out there when you speak up, when you don't fit in that box, which I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. What other community besides the Black community
loses their ethnicity every time they
crushes their people for you're a Republican, oh, you married a white guy, you're a sellout, you're a coon, you're a fill in the blank.
Oh yeah.
Like what other community does that? It's actually racism within the community, but it's acceptable because it's coming from people with brown skin.
The problem is that I always argued that we don't really have a community. And we're all different versions of whatever our ancestors were. So camaraderie it seems that we, for whatever reason in our own community, we've exploited ourselves more than anybody else.
Yes, why?
Because we're there. Like the perfect thing. Here's an example. When the only thing that you invest in the Black communities is Sprite commercials and how to be in the NBA or be a singer or a dancer or an actor, even let's say you had a neighborhood with 1,000 of the most prepared athletes and actors and whatever, there's still a percentage of them actually getting there, even though all of them have the tools. is insane. It's less than 1%.
Yes.
You never see. I think Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey was working on trying to get more educational things in the neighborhood, stem cell. He was trying to get trade schools. Like we don't. There's no investment because we're kind of have that crabs in the bucket mentality to where if one is doing well, you buy it. You grab the crabs in the bucket. They could all get out, but anytime one crawls up, they pull him back down, and they all end up dying in the bucket.
Devastating.
It is and it isn't. I think it needs to remind you that we are not a group. And sharing pigment does not mean you share character.
Well, I totally
love, or
agree.
anything like that. But it is the easiest way to keep people ignorant is grouping everybody together. The black vote, like, oh, he has the black vote. I have never
I'm so glad you bring this up.
I have never been in a meeting where we all decided as like, or I'm usually early to everything, but there's never been a black meeting where we all decide which one we voting for, fellas. Like, make a choice. Doesn't exist. Grouping us together also makes it look like we don't have different levels. We have scientists, we have doctors, lawyers, actors, teachers, all different levels of success and economic thing, religious differences, family differences. Who if you can find someone to love you for who you are and all your bullshit, who gives a damn what color they're? Now I can speak on it because I have a multicultural basket of children. So I have dipped in the waters of all, and I can tell you it's the exact same. They all hate being lied to. They all hate if you don't pay your bills, and they all want to be complimented across the board.
Yes.
Pretty much never had like, oh, wow, that's amazing. I never knew that German women like this, So when I see that, I look at it to where they've lost the argument. And I always look at it as a grin. Like when I was playing ball and I'm beating a guy up or wrestling or fighting in clubs when I was bodyguarding and stuff. And when the person's reduced to calling me the N-word before I knock them out, it would literally put a big smile on my, because I'm like, you're all you have.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in your head rent free.
100%.
But that comes from the whole point, and this is what makes me laugh when brothers get so upset when someone calls you that, and then it's an excuse for you to become what they call you. Because here's the thing, the reason why we said it is because we made it into a brotherhood word. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, you're stupid. Like, take the word stupid. Like, oh, I don't talk to stupid people. So, and you're stupid, instead of the N-word. Then we'll be sitting at the desk going, you're stupid, I'm stupid, we're stupid together. What up, stupid? Oh, I'm stupid. We took your ugly word and turned it into a term of endearment. And then as soon as they say it, we forgot that word doesn't have any power. So you give them the power, because it's not what happens to you, whether you get called a racist term or talked about your sex or who you be with. When you are punched in the mouth, no one's judging you of you getting hit or being called the name. Your judgment comes from your reaction.
Reaction, yeah.
And when you react and you give the word, because the only way you give the word power is by doing that. And when they say that, listen, and there's sometimes when I read tweets and comments and I'll be like, ooh, I want to get. So what I do is when a guy goes really far, I'll post it. Be like,
yes,
wow, this guy is,
and then they
he's just miffed.
Yes.
And then I just let the communities eat him.
It's like the hyenas come after them. But here's and I've had this conversation / argument with so many people, a lot of my black friends throughout the years in the industry. And to me, because of the negative connotation of the N-word, why do we want that word?
I don't use it anymore. I stopped saying that to my homeboys and my friends. I think probably Richard Pryor said it best. If you ever see his stand-up, if you haven't, where have you been? But Live on the Sunset Strip, he talked about what that word means, and that he doesn't say it anymore. And I didn't understand it when I was younger, but as I got older, I realized, like, yeah, why do we use that word? It has no meaning. I went from wanting to be a great black man, as my goal was. I wanted to be a famous, successful black man, to an independent man. Man.
Period. So what was that transition? Like, why did you make that change?
I think the biggest thing is I realized that allowing someone to tell me what my blackness is, for one, is ignorant on my part. And two, no one's going to take anything away from me. It's mine. And the fact that I would allow someone to be like, oh, well, you're an Uncle Tom. Okay. But you're talking to me. I don't want to talk to you or know you. Like, that's the thing, is like I'm not going to Subway and talking about the way you make your sandwich, bro. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not. So for you to attack me means that I am so powerful that you don't know me from Adam, but yet you want to write me to tell me how much I hurt your feelers. So maybe instead of complaining to your mom about the meatloaf, ask her for a hug, get right, because I'm fine. So I don't care if so-called black community or white community likes me. I really give zero fuck. Only thing I care about is that when I see my kids, they're proud of their dad, my friends respect me, and I continue to grow up my work because I bring it at a high level. So that's the only stuff I worry about. I don't wake up in the morning and be like, oh man, I hope I don't lose my blackness today. I got to be real careful. I don't want to say anything wrong. And
Do you hear it a lot though? Because again, being on
I think
Fox
because of the
News
way I
and
carry myself, I probably get the less heat from anyone. I think Kat Timpf gets the most.
yeah.
She gets attacked a lot for being a libertarian. Um, and here's the other thing. I don't invest that much time in social media. I'm probably the worst social media person ever that is doing well and on social media because I don't post much. I don't read a lot. I'll read comments like when I'm Gutfeld's on because I watch my film back to see what I can be doing better. And I'll look at comments in the show and be like, if fans really like a joke or they'll like something, I'll make a note of it. Be like, hey, maybe I'll hold on to that one. And when I don't hear comments, okay, that one didn't really work. So I'll use it in that way, and I'll see
to
some
grow, get better.
and I'll see some comments on there, and most of the time I'll just like I ain't got time for it. So I don't invest the time in social media probably like I should, but I also feel like I sleep a lot better tonight. And arguing with listen, as an alpha male, like to argue with a man straight up without it turning physical or like it just makes no sense to me to argue with somebody you don't know. It's just crazy. Like you don't like me. I know you. I don't care. Like, are we gonna have an awkward thing at the supermarket, or are kids not gonna play together at the father and son softball picnic next week? No, I don't. Bye. I don't care.
You said a word, a phrase, I guess, that I am kind of obsessed with now, which maybe this is weird. I think it's based on the time that we're in and what I've seen go the wrong direction, and that is alpha male.
Yeah.
And the importance of alpha men, and even for women like me, who I am a very strong, independent, confident woman who grew up with an alpha male father, a retired Army
but
colonel.
alpha women are just as important.
No, I agree. I'm just saying in general right now,
Yeah,
I
in
think
general, yeah.
men, real men, like we need more, and you've been under attack in so many ways. And so it's just know how refreshing it is to hear as a woman who I'm like looking around and I'm single and I'm like, what? I think I'll be single for the rest of my life because so many men are afraid to be alpha men based on where society is today and what it's telling you.
Well, then they probably weren't one to begin with. It's probably one of the most overused terms. And because here's the thing. If you're going to be, quote, the man, which means you're your provider, protector, there's certain things in life that you just have to accept. You can't be careless. A man cannot be careless. Women and children can be careless because if a woman makes a mistake, they'll rally around her. They'll call it redemption. When a man makes a mistake, he's not a man anymore. He's something else. He's a failure, and he has to apologize and fix it and carry it around him, the burden forever. So I always believe that, and that's from the movie Godfather at the end, right before the Don dies when he's talking to Michael, he talks about being careless, and that always popped in my head. But the other side of it is that doing the right thing doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a high five at the end.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest thing about, and when you talk to, like here's an example. My grandfather, who worked at GE his entire life, he put 4 kids through school, raised an uncle who was deaf and had to go to a private special school. And in his generation, the Scottish stayed with the Scottish, and like you didn't mix, and he, Black Scottish was the craziest idea that he had ever heard of, but he never ever saw a picture of him on vacation. You never ever saw a picture of him. He worked and he took care of his family, and which means that his feelings didn't matter because their feelings were more important. You put them in front of you. So and you have to learn that. That's a skill. And a lot of us pretend. There's a lot of fake ass alpha males out there. There's people that go on TV and call themselves alpha male, and they think the idea of being an alpha male is you talk trash or you fight. No, any idiot can do those things. An alpha male knows when to fight and not to fight.
Yes.
An alpha male's role is to protect his family.
The
alpha male's role is to build infrastructure, take pride in his work. That's what an alpha male is. We've changed it to where you think an alpha male is a guy who kicks ass and no, that's not what it is. An alpha male still opens the door, even though she's gonna say, "I don't need you to do that." You still open the door.
Yeah.
And an alpha male still picks up the check. There's just certain rule. There's a reason why I agree in those traditions and rules, because it keeps me the average man striving to be better.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be the guy who can put his credit card down on the table at a restaurant because you worked your ass off and you take care of that. Still matters. It's not going to matter to the population, the 10% of 10% that's on social media.
Right.
And we don't work out with them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't participate. We play outside. We drive trucks. We chop wood. We work out. We spend time with our kids. Yeah. We sit in the pool with our kids. We don't sit in front of the computer and tell everybody how to live their life. So it's a misused term by who? The woke. But the woke, they don't know what a dictionary is from their elbow. They change the words all the time. You're an alpha male. And I'm like, yeah, I'm toxic too. Whatever you want to be. Yeah. I'm fine, because you know what? I don't know you and I don't care.
I also think alpha men have then an innate confidence and security within themselves, so that that alpha male also hopefully can receive love, can receive that softness and be okay accepting instead of being, can be vulnerable.
Right,
like,
because
that's part of it.
Damaged goods is damaged goods, and men and women are different. Men is more physical, women are emotional.
But we all are a little damaged,
right? We're
right?
all damaged. You have to be. You can't be an alpha male unless you've done one or two things. One, you have to get your heart broke. Mandatory. Mandatory. You have to walk around wanting to get hit by a bus. Like, you have to go through that. Two, you have to be horribly fired, disgraced, and failed. Have to. And you have to have a night where you wake up with your face stuck on the concrete of a garage, your friend's house, going, there needs to be, I need to be better. I need something better. Like, you've got to have those. You got to know what rock bottom smells and tastes like, because that's what makes you work so hard. And you have to be able to, you have to covet and want to be with your woman and want to bring that paycheck home and to feel good to know that, you know, and again, it's not Little House in the Prairie. An alpha male will support the hell out of his wife and her. He'll be the first one cheering for her because that's his role. That's his job. They just say stuff. The problem is they just don't want anyone holding them accountable. And the alpha male's job is not even take humans out of it. In Africa, when they had those young elephants killing everything, it was all teenage elephants because they shot all the big male bulls. As soon as they went and brought in a bull from another area, all that shit stopped overnight. Yep. All right, the men are here. Like, that's our role. Yes. They're also the ones we build this country. You have your free. It's men who do that. And so,
and then your young little men at home, our young little men at home, are watching this, and the importance of them seeing all of it, seeing the failure, seeing the strength and the protecting, and it's okay, seeing some tears there too, you know?
Mistakes and failure is a part of life, and to try to shield and act like it doesn't exist is such an injustice, because you can't become the best you if you've not met the worst you.
What are you most proud of as a dad?
What am I most proud of, Dad, is when my kids learn a lesson faster than I did. Probably the recent example is my son's been playing travel ball all summer. Every time I turn on, he gets picked up from another team.
Basketball?
Baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah, 6'3", 12-year-old playing baseball, but he can hit a curveball.
6'3", 12-year-old.
So, yeah, so he's doing his thing, and he made it to the Florida State championship round, and they made it to the semifinals against a team that had never lost and won it the year before, and it went to extra innings, and my son hit a walk-off home run to send them into the finals, and then they were locked in at 7-7, and they were going to extra innings, and at the top of the inning, my son hit a 3-run shot, and his whole team came running out, and they did the deal.
Oh, my God.
And like, I'm watching on my GameStop app, and I'm screaming, acting a fool. I'm so proud of them. The other team gets up, and they get 2 outs real quick. They're 1 out away, and then they play the Bad News Bear music, and there was an error. Then the catcher dropped the ball. Then this happened. Then it was bases loaded, and then they overthrew, and the kids freaked out, which happens with kids.
Sure.
Pressure's pressure, and they lose by 1. And my son is devastated. And I FaceTime him, and he's got, big crocodile tears, and he's just and he's got his little face paint on from, because all his friends, they all painted their war faces, and I'm like, son, you hit 3 home runs. You played error-free baseball at first. Like, you stole bases, and when he steals a base, that's a big deal.
Oh my gosh, I'm not trying to stop that.
No, I'm just saying, but for him, he's like, Dad, I stole bases, and I'll be like, that's my boy, yeah, because we're quick. And I was telling him all the things he did well. And he said, Dad, none of that matters. My team lost. And I was just like, I said, can I tell you something? And he was like, what? I said, you're so wise. Because when your dad, I didn't learn that lesson, son, until I was 30 years old. That it was teamwork that makes the dream work. And I said, and look at you. You taught me something. So you know what? It's okay to feel bad.
To not be selfish.
Yeah, we'll be sad together.
And it's like you can be proud of that, but the focus now.
Right, but when I was coming up, all you would have heard about, I hit 3 home runs and I did this. Look at me, like me. You have to like me. Look how good I am. Because I was trying to show out to try to get people to like me because of whatever my issues were. And my son was like, no, Dad, my team. And I was like, and my daughters are just smarter than me. That's what makes me, I could do without the sarcasm. But
good luck with that. Yeah. Let me know how that works out.
It's not going very well.
And they say with girls, it's like you got to get them to 25. And I'm like, I thought I was almost there.
No. We've agreed that there's no dating till 24, and
dude, whatever.
There's no dating. There's also no dating as long as I'm financing horses. So my daughter agreed no dating until I'm like, listen.
She's 12.
You can't do both.
She's 12.
No, she's 10.
Oh, that one.
The 10-year-old.
Yeah, whatever.
The 12-year-old is just she's getting good, and she'll be competing soon. But the 10-year-old's already.
The fact that you have 2 girls and horses.
Because
who's the sucker?
But they're doing the work. But here's the catch. Here's the catch. When they don't do the work, I'm also the Grim Reaper, and I'm the guy who takes it away.
And by the way, you're still paying for the horse and the lessons.
That's why you lease.
That's month to month lease. Oh no, it's
not
like a 6-month lease.
Oh, no.
Or a year lease. Because I own the horse and I'm leasing out.
Old Tyrus, the tactician, got it for monthly.
I wouldn't let you lease my horse then. I got someone on here.
Here's the cool part. Now I got to lease another horse because she needs to ride every day.
Too. Exactly.
And this horse is only leased for
Okay, let
Monday,
me ask
Wednesday,
you this
Friday.
though, because you're so proud of your kids in those moments, right? What are you proud of yourself for as a father? Like what you have realized about yourself with how you parent. Maybe something you've done. I ask you this because as parents, just like your kid, right? He's not focusing on himself.
Right.
It's okay because I think we beat ourselves up so much as a parent. Like what have you done that you're like afterwards, that was the right thing?
I think I accepted the fact that I didn't have the skills to do the job. I think that was the biggest thing as I realized that like my way of doing things was not conducive to raising kids the right way. Like I had to change my entire outlook. I had to learn how to be a trusting partner in a relationship, that I wouldn't go chasing after anything with a smile that walked my way for attention, my own bullshit. Because you can talk it all day long to your kids, but if you're not walking it and living it, you're doing them a disservice. So the hardest thing for me was to realize that like single Tyrus and Tyrus wants to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so things like reducing my wrestling schedule and then retiring from wrestling when I didn't want to, because I was having fun and feeling great, and was nothing wrong in the ring with me, and it was my time to hang out with my buddies and like be men in the locker room and just live and be on the road again and get away from everything. But I'm missing games, missing horseback riding stuff, and I went to my children and I said, is it better for me to be at the games, or do you want Dad to still wrestle with the belt and you guys go to the shows and all that stuff?
Which is fun for kids.
And my kids looked me dead in the face like, no, we want you at the games. So
that's the reason why you stepped away?
That's why I retired, yeah. My kids wanted me at the games. But it was like, 10 years ago, I never would have done that. I would have said that, like, they don't understand what I have to do. Like, and I was like, I always was distant from people. Like, I'm there, but I'm not really there. I'm ready to, whenever it's over, I'm ready to go. I know you're going to walk out at some point, so I'm already prepared. Like, your bag's half packed. So I'm always 1 foot out the door, was always the way I was. And then I realized that, like, I can't walk out on these guys because just for what, a good time? Like, you have to grow up. Like, you really have to grow up. And you also have to realize is that it's not about me anymore.
Exactly.
And that's the toughest thing is, like, it's not about me. The old me wouldn't have paid for equestrian because that would have took money out of my pocket. Maybe I want to buy a new truck or something. You know, like, I just want to have a fat stack on me. And I stopped using terminology like calling my homies this, that. I don't want my children to talk that way. So I don't do it. The cussing won't stop, but also I'm more of a Tony Robbins guy when it comes to that, just words.
How
But
so?
it's just words. Ass and butt, there's no difference. You apply meaning
I
to
see
it.
what you're saying with Tony. Yeah.
And with my daughters especially, I don't want when someone cusses at them in the real world for them to fall apart.
Which I
Whereas
used
mine,
to.
if you cuss at my 10-year-old, she'd be like, "That's all you got, Daddy? This motherfucker." Like I'll be like, "Yeah, it's on." Like, don't we? But my daughters will not be intimidated by man's verbal threats or anything like that because they're like, that's a word that we just joke with. So you have you take the power out of the words, and it helps. And again, trial and error. You can have you got 6 kids, you raise them all the same. None of them are going to be the same.
No.
So no formula works. But when you recognize what's not working for one of your children, you got to be humble enough to be like, hey, this, with me, I spank everybody. Like, you got to do what I do in my work. Some of my children, half of them, that don't work. If I look at one of them, I'm disappointed, they will melt and cry on the floor. Daddy, I'm so sorry. I'll be better. And then I got my other ones will be like, I'm disappointed in you. And they'll be like, well, get used to it because you ain't even figured it all out yet.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just, you have to be able to, you got to be flexible, but not weak. And you can
Such a fine line.
And you can never, ever, ever be their friend.
No, I mean, I think, my oldest is 22. I think we'll get there. I'm friends with my parents now.
Well, you can be friends with them when they have kids.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah, because then you get to be...
I think even before then, depending on, because these days girls are waiting longer. I was very much friends with my parents before I got married. I got married at 26, 27. And that's different, right? But in college, when you're still trying to teach them accountability, right? And then independence, get a job. Like, I worked 2 jobs when I'm trying to come up in TV, right? We all did all these things. So yeah, I look forward to those days. But I also, as you know, I'm about to become an empty nester.
Yeah.
And I'm so heartbroken that this chapter is over.
Get a horse.
No, I already have one.
Oh, well.
Thank you. And I need to get rid of it.
Bring it closer to the...
I need to get rid. Yeah.
Is it a jumper?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. I might know a guy.
I might know a guy. Yeah, but you're not going to lease for more than a month at a time.
No, it's past that. We got to have whoever it is.
He's a good boy too. He's really, because it needed to be a little younger when we bought him for her, and it was literally, pandemic was about to begin before, just gotten divorced, all of the things, and that horse actually helped her and saved her through a lot of difficult things, personally and with the world where it was.
Therapeutic. Animals are therapeutic.
And honestly, that's the reason why I kept doing it for her, because
just curious,
I felt
did you make the horse wear the mask when you guys rode?
The horse didn't wear the mask. No, but they had these kids doing it. My son was a runner. He ran the mile. He was one of the best in the state of Connecticut.
With the mask on.
On the starting line, that mask. And I was like, this is bullshit. And this is actually unhealthy. And so I'd be like, get up to the line. And as soon as that gun goes off and you take your step, pull that shit down. And he would. And what are they going to do? But at the end of the day, I remember, it's funny now to have those long talks. Guys, remember this? I'm like, oh my gosh, couldn't go to prom. Cancel prom. Rites of passage with these kids. Don't get me started. I need to ask you about this because I'm in awe. Gosh, that's a big word. But I am so impressed, and it gets me emotional because you could have used any excuse in the world. We all have it. I'm just saying that your upbringing was tough, and you had 2 teenage parents starting off, and not a lot of structure, and probably not, I'm guessing, you tell me, not a lot of that really positive alpha male influence to teach you.
No, he was the woke's idea of what an alpha was. He was a little man who was physically strong and solved all his problems with violence, and he tortured my mother. It was a horrible. But it was, my mother found a way to give us hope. I think the reason, she just had a way. She laughed at all my jokes, and my mom's laugh is the only thing that we have in common, honestly, is we have the same laugh. And my laugh it's just one. It's just, ha! I'll see something and it's sarcastic, and my mom would do that, and I would do things to try to cheer her up all the time, because it was, at one point he had gotten to the he was a rampant cheater, but he always accused my mom of cheating, and so he would lock us in the apartment. He put a lock on the outside of the apartment door and locked us in there, and she tried to get out or whatever, and at one point we were down to peanut butter and crackers, and my mother was, she wouldn't eat, and then I wouldn't eat. And then to make her laugh, we had a pepper plant, and I walked over to the pepper plant and be like, "Oh, well, this looks like candy." And I chewed it, and it was hot. And I was, she was like, "What are you doing?" It's, and she smirked or whatever. But it was a tough.
How many siblings?
It was me and my brother, and he had some issues when he was born. He had some hip issues, and he was a lot smaller than I was. And my biological father had some issues with that and was accusing of it being somebody else. And I'm like, we both stuck with your face, bruh. But it wasn't until he turned because was only going to take so much, and at 4, I started attacking him for
4
attacking
years
my mom.
old?
Yeah, again, you watch TV as a child, you don't, and back then it was, I saw in a movie, it was a TV show, and they stabbed the bad guy in the back, and he just died. And they go, oh, and die. So I was made up my mind the next time that he put hands on my mom that I was going to get him. And then that would be the end of it, and he wouldn't hit my mom anymore. So I ran in the kitchen, got a steak knife, and at 4 years old, ran over, and when I went to stab, I basically stabbed him in the ass, and it didn't do what it did on the movie. He just kind of jerked back, and I was like, no. And he lost his shit, and he was going to throw me out the window, and my mother was talking him down, but it was that day that he switched the abuse from her to me, and I got this bad boy, he cracked my orbital socket when he backhanded me. And it just never really healed right. But because you don't go to the emergency room when your dad beats the shit out of you, because they're going to report it. So, but it was after that she had enough, and she reached out.
When he started to beat up you?
She then called her family, who had kicked her out for being with a black man. And you know how much crow that, you imagine that in the 70s in Massachusetts, of all places. And she brought us back. And my grandfather, who had no reason at all to like anyone black, given the first experience was my father. So, and his family and their BS. And so he showed up with his buddies with bats at 3:00 in the morning, kicked in the doors. My dad was out on a binger. And I used to sleep under the bed. That was my safe place. I wouldn't sleep.
So this is Grandpa coming to,
and he rescued his daughter, and he took her sons, and he brought us back. And for like 3 days, it was just kind of like a whole new world. They had a lake on their property, and it was nice, and everything was clean and smelled good, and the water was hot, and it wasn't yellow. It was just all those things. But unfortunately, he told my mother, like, I can't have black children in my house. Like, we can't. And the deciding factor was the pinkness in my hands. I remember as he looked, like looking, scouring, trying to find a reason to say we were Italian or anything else, but he was just too concerned with what the neighborhood, our safety and everything else. So he told my mother she could restart her life. It would help her get a trade or, go to college. They would do that for her, but she needs to give us up. And she made a tough decision, and she gave us up. But again, the evil, racist Scottish man who was only trying to take care of his family. I think you can have two thoughts on one subject, and not knowing and bad experiences influences how people think. I don't regret what he did based off of what my particular genetic family was. They were thieves and horrible people, and they beat women, and so his reaction to that would probably been the same as mine or anybody else's if you really think about it. But and then he went out and he found a family that'd be willing to take, because my mom's the only issue was she didn't want us separated. They need to be together. And he was able to do that for us. And she got her nursing degree and turned her life around and was able to, she got us a few years later, and we moved off to California to start our life. So it was a tough decision.
So how long in between when she gave you up and then?
I think it was like 2.5 years maybe.
And which family did you go to?
I was it was technically like a foster family without going through the states, without the stuff, because they wouldn't keep us together.
Yeah.
And they couldn't, they said, and he's too big. They're not going to take him. They took care of us, and basically we were just part of their family. Like I was tough. I was awful. Oh, you have no idea. Like I wrote a lot about it in my first book, but like I beat her over the head with a stool, broke her collarbone. Like I was a monster.
The mom? The
mom. But when they were coming, I was on the news. I climbed the tree, and the fire department was like, let's just spray a little bastard down, And but my foster dad meant a lot to me, and he worked for Coca-Cola, and he was a barber on the weekends, and he got the truck, and he's like, get down, let's go. And I climbed down, and they're taking her out in the hospital, and she's like, don't take my baby. And I was like, wait a minute, I did all these bad things. You should be sending me away, but they didn't. They kept me. And then all of a
So
sudden,
that was
yeah.
a real sign of that's
I
love.
started after that. I started calling her mom, and I didn't have much contact with my mom at that time. And we just kind of grew and grew. And then one day, when I'm getting ready. They wanted me to play hockey. They thought I was going to be a monster defenseman.
Massachusetts,
Yeah, so
like-
I was getting ready. I was doing hockey stuff, and my foster brother, he went to West Point. He was a goalie for West Point, so they were so everyone had to do hockey, and I didn't mind it, and I was getting to do it or whatever. And then we got a call that my mom wanted me back, and so just like that, we were gone.
Was it
It
hard
wasn't.
to go back?
We never were right. Like from how can I put? My mother is a strong woman, and she raised 4 boys pretty much on her own. But her and I, we just went through too much stuff together. Like you can't, like no matter what you do, when it's just some things never heal. And unfortunately, I look exactly like my dad,
Too many reminders.
spitting image, just light skin, eyes, everything.
Yeah.
And he tortured her. Like no one should have went through what she went through. And, and a man who beats you and then you have to physically please him. I mean, it's just all kinds of rape, mental rape, physical rape. Then you get beat up, for messing up a cornrow. When you're a 16-year-old white girl from the other side of Lynn, Massachusetts, and you have no clue how to do a black man's hair.
Yeah.
How would she,
Could she?
But
Yeah.
that would get the shit beat out of her. So, it was just one of those things where
So when
just
you went
been through
back
a
with
lot.
her, you were how old?
She stayed with us, but when she got remarried, and my stepfather Craig and I, it was never.
But you were like how old when you went back? Like 10?
Yeah, like 9 or 10. Yeah, and it was
How about staying in touch with the woman you called mom?
They passed on, and also my mother didn't want reminders.
But those people saved you.
Yeah, but to her, I think she looked at it like a failure.
A failure.
So it was like she had to give us up, and I think that guilt aided her.
Did you get to see them again before they passed?
I saw them before they passed briefly. I literally came to his deathbed to say goodbye, and he was talking about me, which they were going crazy about, because when I was little, I was a pain in the ass, but I was obsessed with frogs. And there were no frogs in Peabody, Massachusetts, in the front yard. But my foster dad convinced me if we look hard enough, we might find one. So every day after work, him working his ass off, he's in the front yard with me, turning over rocks, looking for frogs that are never going to show up. And that's what he said. He's like, and the accent, because my middle name's Tyrus, my first name's Jordan, but in the East Coast, Judge.
Yes.
So he was like, Judge, did we get the frogs? And I'm like, we got them, sir. We got them. So I got to say goodbye to him, and it was weird that he brought that up. So
what a moment.
It was.
And I want, like the courage you displayed at age 4, where most kids are trying to learn how to write their name.
Fighting. I had a black eye when I was born. Like it was just, my head was too big. My mom was like 15, and she's having a 10-pound, 10-ounce, 24-inch baby.
Good God.
She weighed about
Tyrus.
90 pounds, and they couldn't get me out. They had to use the forceps, old school, and came out with a black eye. My name was almost Hercules because I had the same traps. The problem was, it wasn't my head, it was my shoulders were so big that they had to.
I can't, yes.
And then.
Yeah.
So y'all way tougher than we are.
True, but I didn't have any 10-pound babies.
I wouldn't have had it. I'd have left the hospital. Like, we're not doing this.
No, just cut me open and please take it out this way.
Yeah,
yes.
He's just going to grow out in his own time.
So when you go full circle on this, man, your kids would not have the awesome father that they have without
if I didn't have a
you
shit father to
went
begin
through
with.
the crap, the pain.
That's why I tell people, failure is the best, and bad moments are your best fuel, because you realize, like I will realize that I will never be him. I beat him. I actually beat him in the 3rd grade, to be honest. But I'm saying in terms
beat
of
him up?
no, in terms of growth and success, like I will never be him. I will never.
Is he still alive?
Somewhere, yeah.
There's no contact.
What for?
Yeah. And your mom?
Yeah, she's out there somewhere. But again,
no contact.
We said goodbye, and we needed to. I have a chapter in my book called Sea Turtles, And
that's when you said goodbye?
it just doesn't work. It doesn't, it's not anybody's fault. It just doesn't work.
But it still takes courage to know that.
You got to
and
love
then
somebody enough to
draw
know
that
that you're not good for each other.
Yes, but for yourself
Yeah.
too. Like, you're big and strong and tough and all those things. And then there's the human inside
Saying goodbye
of
to your mother
you.
is not an easy thing to do, but sometimes it's the right thing to do.
Is that why you mentioned needing grandparents back too? Because your kids don't have that?
So one thing I can't give.
What about their mom? Mom's parents?
Unfortunately, my wife is not much better. Her family, the abuse and horrible things that they've done to her in life, and I made a decision. The one thing I'm good at is spotting somebody who's abusive or bad, because I grew up in two occasions with my stepdad and my biological father. They're very good at the camouflage, unless you know what you're looking for. And I didn't like the way they talked to my daughter. They talked to her different than her other grandkids. And so I put a stop to it, because she's the only one that was black. So she was, and I caught it and I ended it. And then when Ingrid saw it, she was like, we're done. I mean, we are lucky. She does have an awesome, great aunt.
Awesome.
Who goes out of her way to see her. But unfortunately, on my end, I don't have, that's it. Like, I don't have anyone for them. And I wouldn't put anybody around them that's genetically connected to me. It's just, I won't risk my children being disappointed. So there's no point. And, like, even my brother, we don't speak either, but he couldn't remember my kids' names. And I was just like, so let's just not. The hardest thing in the world is to love somebody enough to let them go, because you got to love yourself more. And if it's not a good, here's the deal. I can see my mom tomorrow and we will get along for 48 hours like you never, we'll laugh and it will be the greatest thing ever. And I'll get hugs from her and it'll feel great. And then day 5 will happen. And then the ugliness just kind of stares.
If there's, I don't know if you've had this opportunity, but if there's like one thing you could tell each of them, your mom and dad, like, have you had that opportunity? What would you say?
How'd I do? Yeah. How'd I do? But I know it'd be impossible for them to answer, because they'd have to say that I did it without them. So that's never going to happen. But the good news is that my kids won't have to ask me how they did, because they'll hear about it all the time. So
how do you think you did?
I think I did pretty fucking well. I think I'm doing all right. And but I never say, like, I never think like, oh, I've made it. I'm here. I'm good. It's always like, what do I got to do next? Where I keep going. You can't be satisfied, and you got to be a realist. But that's the one thing I know is that my kids won't ever have to sleep underneath their beds unless we're playing a game, and they'll never, no matter what the situation is, I'll be there. So.
You are already, and it is honestly so inspiring for me to see you, and not just what you've done, but how you've chosen to do it. And when you talk about not wanting to walk away from wrestling, but you listened to what they said, and you did it. And you've made these choices in your life, including the toughest thing, which I think is the boundary. I love you.
Building boundaries is the only way that you can be healthy.
Yes.
And enforcing boundaries is the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Yeah. And you've only learned that because of that trauma.
Because of that L.
So I don't know about you, but I mean, everybody's got a story, right? And that's one of the things I talk about with this country is why we've got to be more kind, lead with grace, because no one knows. And unless people have taken the time to know your story, to read your book, to listen to you on many different platforms, they see this big, strong, funny,
Smart ass
brilliant,
on TV, yeah.
badass, all these things. And it's like, you don't know what that person's dealing with and their why behind it.
Yep.
And I hope that in those quiet moments, you can really, really be proud, even if you don't say it out loud to anybody ever.
No, because that makes you an asshole. Like
No,
once
it
you start
doesn't.
bragging, I'm great. No, but
No,
the one thing,
I'm
but the
talking
one
about
thing
to
I
your
do.
wife,
Oh yeah,
to-
yeah, yeah.
like to you.
Trust me, she's paid her dues. Oh my god.
No, but Tyrus,
yeah, but like
it takes such strength.
No, yeah,
to
I do the funnest thing I do is every chance I get, I will find a spot to go sit out and put the sun on my face, and that's my favorite thing to do. And whenever my kids see me do it, they'll be like, "Dad's being proud of himself." Because it's a whole thing where I just sit doing my sun on my face. Like
I love that.
it's free.
But they know it is
It's free.
And
it
even we
always
need
feels
some
good.
of that.
But it always feels good. Have
It
you ever, when the
does.
sunlight hits your face, you having a bad day, you go get some sunlight on your face, and it's going to be all right.
Have you heard of that? Like Gary Braca and some of these guys are like, you start the day with grounding, and you step outside in the sun, not in the snow, and you're barefoot on the ground, even if it's 60 seconds. Like I started it just because I'm obsessed with the sun and I'm always cold, and to start your day like that, it is grounding.
I couldn't do that for one reason. Some of my favorite TV shows, like Alone and A Naked and Afraid, like I can't do those things because I've wore socks on my feet my entire life. I don't have so I will never be barefoot outside. I don't have naked. My daughter, we make jokes because they're like, all the survival stuff, but what happens if you didn't have shoes? Oh, we're not going. Like I wear socks all the time. Like I just do not. Me walking on the asphalt to get to the pool without socks on or shoes are like, it's murder. Like,
can I challenge you?
I'm supposed to there's always
doing hard things.
I just feel that in any situation, I should be able to have kicks on. Like any survival situation, I should be able to have my kicks on.
I hope. For
that's
your
why
sake
I
that you
related so
can.
much when President Trump said, "Let me get my shoes," because I would have said the same thing. Like, oh, shoes.
Yeah,
forget everything
shot
else.
in the head, but give me those damn
Butt
shoes.
naked, but make sure my shoes are on.
His are probably those Brunello, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
shoes.
I bet he wears Jordans and
What
kicks
size?
for the rest of his 17. But I don't wear dress shoes. Only you can't. Anybody when I see bodyguards in
when
dress
you got
shoes,
married,
I giggle.
what'd you wear?
Tennis shoes.
I should have known that.
Like I don't wear those shoes. Like
She knew what she was getting.
Well, because I'm like, if a fight breaks out, I'm not slipping. Like my mind was always in a bodyguard mentality. So
okay, I just want to remind everybody because I met you through Gutfeld.
yes.
But OutKick, you know, I've been waiting for you to invite me on your show.
Well, we're doing Home and Home.
Whatever.
So we did yours, and then booking you is a lot harder than it is booking me.
It is so not.
My God.
It's so not true. It's so not true.
It's so hard to even get There's so many
Maintaining
people coming here to this show, you can't even get a car.
That's. Oh, wait. We said we're going to talk about that. This is round 2. The first time, actually, I'm so glad the first time he was supposed to come here, called
They got
a
me a nice
Uber.
car. Uber Black.
Uber Black, and
I came walking out, and the driver looked, he was in his car, and he went, and just drove off.
He drove off and left you
and
standing
I was like,
there.
what the? And then I was like, that's impossible. So then
He texted me, and
I texted you like,
"Shut
you're not gonna
up."
believe this. And then I went and booked it myself. I was like, I went and booked it myself. And I'm looking, and I'm calling the guy, where you at? Where you at? And he's like, oh, I'm over here. So I walk over there, and it's the same guy. And he literally went and just drove off. And I was like, are you kidding me? And then apparently there was some going on that day.
No.
The UN or something where there was no Uber drive. And I was like, we're gonna have to reschedule.
The fact, I'm like, New York City, nobody cares about race here. And that man saw you twice and drove off.
I don't know. It happens.
So
if you don't know me, you see all this. It can be. Listen. I'm not. I don't know him well enough to say it was a racist reaction or a sizist reaction. He took one look at me and he just said, "No, not today."
So the fact that you came back and gave me another chance, thank you so
no
much.
problem.
Because you are busy. You have your OutKick maintaining, right? Yeah. You have Gutfeld. You are still on the road doing your comedy. Like you're everywhere. And at the barn.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I love you.
Okay, this has been amazing.